अखण्डे मण्डलाकारं व्याप्तं येन चराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। सावरं जङ्गमं व्याप्तं यत्किञ्चित् सचराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। चिन्मयं व्यापि यत्सर्वं त्रैलोक्यं सचराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः।
Why do we chant Om? Om is one of the most chanted sound symbols in India. It has a profound effect on the body and mind of the one who chants and also on the surroundings. Most mantras and Vedika prayers start with Om. All auspicious actions begin with Om. It is even used as a greeting Om, Hari Om, and so on. It is repeated as a mantra or meditated upon. It is the form is worshipped and contemplated upon or used as an auspicious sign. Why do we chant Om?
Okay, Siddhi, stop here.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, can you tell me why Om is chanted at the beginning of every mantra and after the every, and why Om is the most chanted sound symbols in India?
As it keeps our mind calm.
Yeah, that is true. Everything happens in mind to keep mind calm. Then what is?
Means
Why
all
mantra is chanted?
ma'am, what?
What is the concept of Om?
Means with every auspicious actions begin with Om only.
Yes, true. And one thing is Om. Why it is at the beginning of in every mantra it is chanted. If you want to communicate with anyone, we need a designation or any form or name should be there. Is it not?
Oh yes.
Okay. So to be connected with the God, they have in Vedas they have given Om. So when I communicate with Siddhi, I want to communicate with you. So I need your designation, your name, your form, whatever it is. So if I want to communicate with Siddhi, I have to tell her, Siddhi, come on, you go read this chapter. Then only you will come to know what I want to convey you. You will get the signal. So this is the signal. Om is the signal between us and God. So if you want to communicate with the God, to be with the divine, this Om word is chanted. Okay. Now somebody else take over next para. Palvi, can you? Why do we chant Om?
Why do we chant Om? Om is the universal name of the Lord. It is made up of letters A, U, and M. The sound emerging from the vocal cords start from the base of the throat as A. With the coming together of the lips, U is formed when the lips are closed. All sounds ends in M. The three letters symbolize the three states: waking, dream, and deep sleep. The three deities, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, the three Vedas, Rig, Yajur, and Sama, the three worlds, Bhu, Bhuva, Suva, etc.
Who
The
was
Lord,
okay.
the Lord is all these and beyond. The formless, attributeless Lord Brahma, Brahman, is represented by the silence between two Om chants. Om is also Pranava, that means that symbol or sound by which the Lord is praised. The entire essence of the Vedas is enshrined in the word Om.
First, what it is phonetically, it is made of three letters.
A, U, and M.
Yeah. So when you
Uh,
say A
uh,
is A, it is A. When you say A, your mouth is open, wide open. Then you, your
U,
lip
coming together of the lips.
coming together. You chant and see you, A, then Ma. Your lips will come
Lips are closed.
closed. Then, so what this three, it has only one vowel in this Om word. O is the vowel over there. And these three words are the basic alphabets from which other alphabets, other words, or other sounds are created from this. Before the universe, this sound came first, and it is this Om is next to God. As I told, when we want to communicate with the God, this is the symbol or form. Because when we want to communicate just like that, our mind will not create that design. As in pegging also, we need some form. We as a human being, we need one word, name, or form. For example, if I say computer, immediately in your brain, what it will come? That form, word, and meaning of that. Same way, that's why this Om, these three are the basic words or sound. From this, all other sounds and other words are generated. Okay. Then what is other thing? Letter symbolizes three states.
The letter symbolizes different three states, three deities, three Vedas, the three worlds,
Okay.
and the Lord is represented by the silence between two Oms.
Yeah. First, you tell me about the three states. What is your opinion about three states? Waking, dream, and deep sleep.
When our mind is at a full, when our mind is working, waking
Yeah.
state.
Mind is working with what? With our body.
Yeah.
Physical body with mind, with sense organ. You can see this world outside. That when we are awake, we are seeing this world outside. No,
Yeah.
now we are here. I am seeing you all. With our mind is giving the signal, and with our sense organs, we can see whatever you can touch or you can feel whatever it is, and with our physical body. So this is a waking world. Waking world has physical body. We experience the physical world, and in Sanskrit, this is called what before also I had explained. This is called Stula Sarira. It is called Stula Sarira or gross body. When we talk about waking world, you can it is same Stula Sarira or gross body. It is the same, different names for that. Then comes dream. Dream is
when our mind is half awake and half asleep.
yes, when we are asleep, that is half awake and half asleep. So everything is going on with what? These dreams are going on in the mind. Only mind is working that time. Our physical body is not working that time. Mind tells us that I had a dream. When you next day when you wake up, mind tells you that I had this dream or that dream, whatever it is. Then what else? Then it comes deep sleep. Before that, dream state in Sanskrit, what is it is called? Sukshma Sarira. And it is connected with mind. Everything goes on in mind. It is called causal body. Because with all subtle aspect, we are considering with, we are acting with a subtle aspect. That is mind, ego, whatever it is. So it is called Sukshma Sharira or causal body. That is our dream state. Okay, now deep sleep. Okay, Adit, you can continue with the deep sleep.
That time it's like
Are you
we are not aware of the
connected?
surroundings,
Yeah, tell me.
and like we just go into like some another dimension. Yeah, that's what.
You are not connected with your physical body or
No.
your mind. Everything is zero. It has become
Yeah,
shunya.
yeah.
No, deep sleep. But still, in mind, one person is there.
Correct.
That one person, when you next day, when you get up, that one person will tell you that I had a good sleep yesterday. Is it not? That some one Shakti is there in you. That is you, actually. That Shakti is you. You are not this physical body, or you are not this mind or sense or subtle any aspect or intellect, anything. That in this waking world, we have to deal with all these things. So to deal with mind, intellect, our physical body, how to deal with it, that's why we are reading all the scriptures. We'll learn in the near future. We'll learn. That's why I'm stressing on this point. So when we say gross body or stula sharira, that means it is waking world, and dream status, Shukshma Sarira or causal body, that is everything related to mind. And deep sleep is Karan Sharir. It is called Karan Sharir in Sanskrit. क्योंकि आगे हम scriptures पढ़ेंगे उसमें ये term आएंगे तो you should immediately you have to connect what is Karan Sharir. That means it is deep sleep. Okay, then okay, three deities Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva. That who is going to Nirmit? Can you go ahead with Brahma, Shiva and Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva?
Creator of the universe.
Okay. Creator of the universe. And Vishnu is
The one who preserves the universe or
operates or maintenance of
operator.
Operator or maintaining
And
Shiva is
and
the
Mahesh, destroyer
destroyer
of the universe.
Yeah. In this Om also, this is, can you see? This is waking
Yes.
world. Okay. This is waking world. This is our physical body. And this curve is maintenance. Vishnu, main point. We have to maintain it. Okay, this is dream state. This curve is a dream state, and above the small curve is a deep sleep state. This is deep sleep state. And this curve hai upar, that is ignorance. Because just now I said, in mind also there is one person who is saying next day when we wake up, who is saying that I had a good sleep. Who is saying that? That one Shakti, whatever it is, that we don't know, that ignorance is. And when just now Pallavi read it, no, between two ohms, that silence is there, no, between when you chant Om, one Om, then after second chant, in between there's a gap, slight gap.
Yes.
That silence is you. That is called Turiya state. Between two Om, that silence is called Turiya state. Remember that. If you want to note down, also note down, because in scriptures all these words will come. Okay, so this waking world is Sthula Sarira, gross body, and dream state is Shukshma Sarira, causal body, and above the small curve is deep sleep, Karan Sharir. That is the effect of our self. Causal. Dream state is subtle body and Karan Shar is causal body. I said dream state causal body. No, dream state is subtle because everything related to mind, subtle aspects. And between two ohms, that silence is called Turiya state. That is Paramatma. Because after, when we are waking up, deep sleep, then again next day we are waking up, we are seeing same problem, same people, your same school problem, same friends, you are related with the same thing. Okay, that one person is telling you again, you are back to that. So same way, here we have come here, our birth and after death also, we don't know where our rebirth. But after death or rebirth, all one, actually it is one consciousness. We merge with one consciousness. Actually in everyone there is one Atma only, same Atma. After death, it is merged with one Atma. So actually we are all one, similar. But with the name, designation, with the form, we see other people differently. Okay, just now you just have that explanation right now. Okay, then next is what? It is with 3 Vedas, 3 worlds, Bhu Bhuva Swaha. Then Lord is all this and beyond. That is beyond, that's the title. That Bindu is Paramatma. Om ke upar Bindu is, that is Parma, that is beyond. Lord is beyond that. World is beyond that. Only world, uske beyond bhi kuch hai. Shakti hai that. So it is formless. Actually, that is formless. Actually, we cannot say no formless. इसलिए वो God को connect करने के लिए they have given Om, one form Om. Because otherwise, without form, you will not be correlate with God. Actually, it is formless, but to be with the God or to be with our own self, to be with our true nature, they have given this Om, that form or symbol. Okay, that's why it is called formless. But as a human being, we cannot directly go to that formless. So this is the step to be connected with the divine or ourself. Okay, then Om is also called Pranava. That means symbol or sound by which the Lord is praised. The entire essence of the Vedas is enshrined in the word Om. So about Pranava, who is going to? Manya, can you explain about Pranava?
Symbol or sound by which the Lord is praised.
Yeah, symbol or Lord. That is what we need. Some prana is what actually? Prana is vayu or life. Pran, हमारे प्राण हम बोलते हैं ना, breathe. If breath is not there, you are dead. Prana is what? Our breath or life. Without breath, there is no life. So prana is that life, and pranava is the source of life. So here also Om is the source of life, to be connected with to ourselves, to get connected. So that's why from prana this word has come, pranava. Pranava means is the source of life. Prana is life and pranava is source of life. Okay, next para. Randeep, can you continue with the next para? Yeah.
It is said that the Lord started creating the world after chanting Om and Atah. Hence, these sounds are considered to create an auspicious beginning for any task that we undertake.
That is understood now, because any good thing what we are doing, first we'll chant Om. That's why before mantra also Om word is connected. Okay, now next Shrishti, can you? Next paragraph. Yeah, chant.
The Om chant should have the resounding sound of bell, Om. It fills the mind with peace, makes it focused and replete with subtle vibrations. People meditate on its meaning and attain realization. In deeper states of meditation, one hears the Om as the uncreated sound, Anhyata Nyada.
Okay, Anatha Niyata. So that from Om only that word has come. Meditation, when you meditate, when you contemplate on the word Om or sound Om, your mind will be at peace or at calm. Then only you will be able to hear your inner voice. Okay, you will be able to connect. Just as when you Om chant should have resounding, when you ring the bell, that resounding sound of Om will come. No, immediately whenever something is going on our mind, we are thinking. So when we are thinking, suddenly one bell rings. Automatically, all the flow of thoughts will be stuck there, and we concentrate on that Om sound. Okay, that's also that is. Then next para. Okay, Meghna, you continue.
Yeah. Om is written in different ways in different places. The most common form is this one,
Yeah.
and it symbolizes Lord Ganesha. The upper curve is the head, the lower large one, the stomach, the side one, the trunk, and the semicircular mark with the dot, the sweet meat ball, modaka, in Lord Ganesha's hand. Thus,
So
the Om
beautifully.
symbolizes everything:
Okay.
the means and the goal of life, the world and the truth behind it, the material and the sacred, the forms and the formless.
So beautifully it is said. Now, Om symbol of Ganesha, Modak in the hand and big stomach with the trunk and the head. So beautifully it is created, and it symbolizes, that means everything, our means and our goals of life, what is form and formless, from form to formless and from material to sacred. We have to become, now we are dealing with material world, but slowly we have to be sacred. So that is the Om. Now Om is related with the, it is a pranava. It has come from prana, word prana. So today we'll learn prana mudra. Prana is what? Vayu, our breath. So our breath is, it is, so prana is related with, it is associated with what? Respiratory organs, our speech, muscles, heart, nose, face. Our breath is connected until navel, it is connected. Space between navel it is there. And in prana mudra, it is done with the little finger. Little finger is what? Can anyone tell me little finger represents what? Little finger is what?
Water.
Water, yes.
Water.
Water. And ring finger?
Earth.
Earth.
Ring finger is earth, yes. And thumb?
Thumb is fire.
Fire. So this
Fire.
prana mudra is with little finger, ring finger and thumb. Little finger, our body is mostly consists of what? Jal and Prithvi. It is consist with 3/4 of our body or world. It is contains water, Jal and Prithvi. Jal, Prithvi and fire. So when it is, it has to be this middle finger, little finger and thumb, and this two fingers straight. It has to be at the tip of the little ring finger and thumb you have to press. And this two fingers straight, other two fingers straight. So Jal, Prithvi, when it is connected with the fire, it balances all the elements. It balances your physical and mental body. Actually, it is helpful in your mental disorders or forgetfulness, or if you have any kind of memory, this thing to sharpen your memory. This helps very much. This prana mudra helps very much. And physically also, it boosts your immune system, it strengthens your muscles, and also it is helpful in all kinds of eye disorders. All muscles, it cures in any muscle, in muscle strengthening also, and it cures all eye diseases. It is helpful in all kinds of physical strength and mental disorders also. So this is very important. Today we learned about Om, which is connected with the physical and mind. So this prana mudra, You can, and it is a friendly mudra. If this mudra is done with another mudra, it can cure many more other diseases when it is combined with other mudra. But right now, I will teach you only 6 most important mudras, which is helpful for the students to do it. So when you are chanting Om with this mudra, it gives you double benefits. Okay. So can we chant Om with this mudra, sitting with this mudra? Okay. So chant, it will from your navel, breathe in, your belly should come out. Okay. Close your eyes and chant Okay, now for more effect, for you can feel the vibration in your body while chanting Om. That demo Sukesh sir will tell you some other technique.
Hari Om to all. How are you all?
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Are you excited? Do you want to hear that Om sound within you?
Yeah.
Sure. Can we do some magic? Okay. Are you all ready for it? Okay. So let's do. This is known as Om technique, and if you really do it sincerely, if you really do it with a proper process, you will get there. Of course, it may not happen in the first attempt, but if you continuously keep on doing, I'm sure that you will hear that Om, and you will what all you read just now in this chapter, you will experience it. And I think in one of the chapters, it mentioned that it's one of the technique that is also used in meditation. So I will demonstrate how this is to be done. So first of all, hear the process, and then we'll practice it together. You need to sit erect. You have to make sure that you don't, slump, or you have to be straight. Your spinal cord has to be straight, and you have to be, fully alert. You have to be fully alert. Close your eyes. You have to close your eyes, and slowly bring your concentration between both your eyebrows, somewhere in this region where we do tilaka, or where we do apply bindi. You have to just concentrate there mentally. Okay.
It's a main focal point, as we have learned before. Why do we do?
So before that, I'll show you so that you can see, because if you close your eyes and see, you may not see the process. So first, I'll tell the whole entire process. You have to sit erect, and then all the 3 fingers, that is the index finger, the middle finger, and the ring finger, you can keep it on your forehead. And then the little finger that you have, the little finger, with that you can put it on your what do you call that? Eyelashes, so that it remains closed and it doesn't get over. And on your ear, there is some small part over here, like a door, small door. It is known as tragus, Tragus. In medical terms, or maybe in biological term, it is known as tragus. So with your thumbs, you have to close that. Okay. So I put my 3 fingers on the forehead. I put my little finger on the eyelashes, and with both the thumbs, I press and close both my ears. So wait, first hear me out completely, because if you do that right now, you will not be able to hear what I'm saying. So once you close your tragus with a pressure, and then slowly mentally start chanting Om. So maybe after some time, initially you may hear some sounds of the blood flow. You may start hearing the sound of heartbeats, all that. And then slowly, when you really go deep inside, and then mentally chant Om, you will be able to resonate. You will be able to synchronize. You will be able to get that sound like a motor. Om continues coming. And that's your Om sound inside you. You can experience it yourself. As I said, it may or may not happen in the first attempt, but gradually when you try to do it, you do it. So let's do it together. So first sit erect, close your eyes, slowly bring your concentration level between the 2 eyebrows, somewhere in the region where you apply bindi or tilaka. Put 3 fingers, that is your index finger, middle finger, and the ring finger on your foreheads, and keep it comfortable. You should not have a lot of strain, otherwise your concentration will go where your hands might be paining, and then you will not be able to concentrate. Slowly, when you do this, and when you are at ease by yourself, you should be able to fully be inside. You should be able to go to that source where that Om is being generated. Okay. Then with your little finger, close your on your eyelashes, close your eyes, and close your tragus by applying a thumb pressure.
Close your ear. chant Om.
And chant Om mentally, not vocally, but mentally. Okay, this was just a demo. It requires. We need to take some time. You may probably have to spend some time. I think. Okay. Did anybody experience? I'm sure it's the first time, so may or may not have. Did anybody hear to that sound?
Nope.
Heard the sound.
If anybody, any one of you were successful, I think it's really good. It's really good that you're able to do it. But it may or may not be able to get this in the first attempt. It may take some practice, and you may also experience that maybe the sound is more prominent on one side, probably on the right side, or probably only on the left side. There are chances. It all depends on the flow of energy that is happening in your body. Okay. So this is known as Om technique. Maybe whenever you get time, whenever you're doing your morning prayers, evening prayers, or whenever you're free, try to do this. It's a good technique. It will bring a lot of peace to yourself. It will really give you a lot of calmness. And what all you learned in this chapter, I think you can reflect, about Om technique and the power of Om. The Om is one of the most powerful, or they call it Pranava mantra. It's a very, very powerful, you can say, in our Hindu culture. And I think Gurudev has very well explained in this book. And I think about significance of Om. I think I was hearing too when you were reading, some of you. I mean, a lot of aspects that we heard. Okay.
It will help you in your constructive thoughts. It will help you in bringing down your anger, frustration, all negative tendencies. So practice Om followed by the mantra. Okay. Don't just chant Om. Followed by any mantra, any Ishtadev mantra, or any mantra which you like. Now,
in one of the classes, I think most of you were present. We showed you a 30-day challenge. When you try to do something repeatedly for 30 days, or now science says that at least 66 times, it becomes your habit. And thereafter, it becomes very difficult for you to remove that habit. For example, probably in last maybe 30-40 days under lockdown period, probably you are into particular, you might have formed some habit. I'm just giving some example. I'm saying it on a lighter side, lighter moment. Maybe some of you are getting up a bit late, maybe say 8 o'clock. And if this has been a practice in the last 40 days, or let's say if it continues, then that will become your habit. And thereafter, it will be very difficult for you to, change that habit. So anything that is done repeatedly, anything that is done, time and again, at least 66 times can become your habit. So in this 7 habits, what we are trying to say is that this 7 habits that we are learning, if you make that as your, thoughtful action, it will really come into your day-to-day behaviors, into your day-to-day relationships, into your day-to-day conduct of any activity, and it will really bring effectiveness in the task that you are doing. It will bring effectiveness in the mission. It will bring the effectiveness in your goal that you might have dreamed about, and so on and so forth. So first, before I think going on the assignments, I thought of summarizing the habits in 6 minutes time.
I remember my grandma's favorite story was about how everything costs 2 cents when she was young. But now, everything constantly got more expensive, and it was all because of the government. These uneducated pigs didn't know how to control prices. And when I was privileged enough to hear the story, her complaining would last for hours and hours. And that's exactly what reactive people do. They always focus on the things that they cannot control. It's not possible that a concept like inflation would exist, and if it did, it's impossible that they wouldn't know about it. On the other hand, proactive people realize, look, even if my complaining were completely objective, it doesn't help me, so I'm going to focus on what I can control. If a proactive person owns a business where he sells a product, instead of focusing on how people these days don't appreciate good products anymore and how the government has horrible regulations, he focuses on how can I improve my product so my customers can't live without it. Do you realize how much responsibility, how much dedication, how much hard work comes along with asking that question? And what do you think our effort minimizing brain is going to pick as default? And that is exactly why most people focus on the things that they cannot control rather than focusing on the things that they can. Habit number 1 is be proactive. Now, imagine you're at a funeral, but this one's different from all the funerals you've ever been to. You're standing over the casket and you see yourself. What do you have to say about yourself? This is one of the most powerful questions you could ask. Are you doing the things in your life which are aligned with what you want to be able to say? Do you want to say that you are a good spouse? If that's the case, how does coming home and instantly being negative towards your spouse affect that? Do you want to be remembered as a person who added value to society? If that's the case, are you doing the things that will allow you to say that, or are you scared of failure and choose comfortable mediocrity instead? Almost every one of us will have to readjust how we live when we ask this question. Habit number 2 is begin with the end in mind. Now, if I were to ask you, what are the most important things to you? The most common answers I would get would be either your well-being or your relationships, your family, your spouse, your children. You would never ever say organizing papers or watching TV. But how many of us spend more time organizing papers and watching TV than planning our nutrition and going to the gym or cultivating a healthy family environment? There's a horrible disconnect between what we say and how we actually allocate our time. Habit number 3 is put first things first. Now, imagine you're an author and I'm an author, and we both write interesting books, and we both have access to an audience of about 100,000 people. I read your book and I love it, so I decide to share it with my audience, and as a result, you now have thousands of people buying your book and reading your ideas. You see this and think, who is this guy? Let me take a look at his book. You start reading my book and think I have ideas that are valuable, so you decide to share it with your audience. And as a result, I now have thousands of people buying my book and reading my ideas. Notice how different this is from my creating a little creepy Amazon account, finding your book and leaving a bad review, hoping that this will deter a few people from buying your book, which will in turn somehow get them to buy my book. Habit number 4 is think win-win. Stop thinking of everything as a zero-sum game. For you to win, another person does not have to lose. Something I want my viewers to do is to subscribe to my channel. But you will never hear me say, well, I worked really hard, guys. I dedicated so many hours to this. Please subscribe. Look, who cares if I worked hard? Who cares if I've spent days creating this video? The real questions are, does it offer value to you? And why should you dedicate your time to subscribing when you could be doing anything else that you want? Habit number 5 is something that I try to use every single day with every interaction that I have and with every comment that I reply to, and it is this: seek first to understand, then to be understood. Now, imagine there are 2 people and a tree with 5 apples on it. They're both too short to reach the apples, but if one of them sits on the other's shoulders, he can reach all 5 of the apples. This is called synergy. The whole is greater than the sum of its parts. Now, I'll be the first one to admit that you can't achieve this with everyone, but you should always be looking for opportunities to create synergy. With every synergistic opportunity you create, you can gather many more apples than you otherwise would by yourself. Habit number 6 is synergize. A man has been trying to cut down a tree for hours, and after a while his neighbor can't take it anymore, goes over and says, you know, if you sharpen the saw, you'll be able to cut it down faster. And the man replies, but sharpening the saw is going to take time. Now, we might laugh at this story, but we do the same thing all the time. We can't find 30 minutes a day, 4 times a week to go to the gym. Our health deteriorates to a point where we're physically incapable of being effective. We can't read a book for 15 minutes a day and mentally stimulate ourselves. No, these things take too much time. And then we have the audacity to ask for little tips and tricks on how to be effective. It's like telling your engineer, don't worry about the foundation, where can we get the magic bricks that will float in the air? Habit number 7 is sharpen the saw. And these are the 7 habits of highly effective people by Stephen Covey.
So I think by having gone through this video, it gave you a chance to brush up, or let's say refresh, or summarize the habits that we learned, so that it helps you when you are going to narrate your experience that ma'am has assigned for homework today. Okay, over to you.
So first habit, Shrishti, can you go ahead for the first habit, your experience?
Yes. First habit is be proactive. It means taking responsibility of your own actions, taking responsibility of your life, and not complaining for what's going on in your life right now. So it means that if something bad is happening in your life, you don't need to complain about it, because there won't be any use. Instead, think how to make it better.
So what is your experience regarding where did you apply?
Actually, in exams, if we say that the paper is too hard and I won't be able to do it, that is like very bad. And so we should think how we can do it, and not why it is so hard.
Okay. There was a punchline that we heard in this video. If you marked it, okay. There are things that can be controlled, and there are things that cannot be controlled. So we have to ask questions. Is it worth complaining about the things that we cannot control? Like you gave the example of examination. The paper is tough. Do you think it was in your control? Yes, it was. If you had studied, if you had gone through the syllabus, it was in your control, wasn't it? There are some certain situations where you cannot complain. I mean, it's out of your control. Right now, all of us are under lockdown. There are probably some inconveniences being caused to us, but the situation is out of our control. It is a regulation. It's a need of the hour. So we can't complain. We can't say, oh my God, I'm unable to go for a movie. I'm unable to go and meet my friends. I'm unable to, go to, let's say, so-and-so place on a picnic or whatever. We can't, because this is something which is not in our control. So we can't complain about it. So being proactive is all about doing what we can control, and not complaining about what we cannot control. Okay, next.
So what proactive people will tell, I can do better than that. In any situation, I can do better than that. So don't cry about whatever situation comes in front of you. Instead, I will do it. Don't say I will try it. I will do it. I will do it better than that in any given circumstance. So Advait, you are also for habit number 1. Over to Advait. Advait?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, Advait. Go ahead, with habit number 1.
Yes, today I am going to talk about the first habit, which is coined as be proactive. The first habit, be proactive, is the key habit to all other habits. The first habit, be proactive, gives you self-confidence as it promotes you to take responsibility and have belief in yourself, and it gives us a chance to choose and take decisions. Tells us to plan in advance, which means that we have to think about the situation and then work according to it. Means we have to we have to have far-sightedness, and we have to know all the outcomes of the situation. We should not be reactive. We should take time, and after it we should give response to the stimulus. The difference between proactive and reactive is proactive people are self-driven, and reactive people are always dependent on other. Second, proactive people are always positive, and reactive people always keep giving excuses and blame others. And the third point is that proactive people think and plan in advance, while the reactive people react to the outcome straightforward.
Good. Any experience?
Yes. Now we all know that because of lockdown, we can't go out and buy books for studies. So it was my father's um, suggestion to me that the coronavirus situation can get India also into lockdown. So you should borrow books from your friend who has cleared 9th standard, and I did the same way, and I now have the books to study.
Okay, yes. So that's it. Reactive people will say I have to, but proactive people will say I choose. So Advait chose to get the books who have already cleared 9th standard and started preparing for the 9th. Okay. So Dia with habit number 3, then we'll come back to Ishan. Is not done. No? Dia?
Habit number 3 is putting first things first. And the habit number 3 and the habit number 2 are very closely related, because once we have chosen our goal with the end in mind, we can organize our activities in much better way. Now, there are 4 ways in which we can spend our time or organize our activities according to our priorities. First is the first one is whether it is urgent and important goal. So, and the second is something which is not urgent but important. Third is something which is urgent but not important. And the fourth one is that the thing is either urgent nor important, which is just like wasting our time. So I would like to share one of my experience wherein this habit of arranging and organizing the task that was before me was helpful. So during my 10th board exams, I had to only 1 month was left, and I was supposed to do the revision. So there were many things in my mind, and at that time, if you are supposed to choose science in future, you have to give some entrance test for classes. So that thing, and also we know that when we are in 10th, in the end of the academic session, we have many gatherings, friends, outing, and all that stuff. So even that disturbed me. So I had many thoughts in my mind. So the thing which was very urgent and important for me was to start the revision without thinking about the other thing, and like it was something like it's better to start at the very time, because thinking about the other things or making a proper schedule that it's okay, I can take 2 days of to do fun and then start. I think that was not important. So something which was urgent and important was to start right now. The second way which would I have chosen was something which was not urgent but important. Like first taking some time to make a schedule, and then planning like how mostly we do, like if we are decided to start the work at 8 o'clock, and if it's already 8:05, then what people do is no, it's okay, we'll start by 8:30 or something. So like that we are wasting our time. So that was one option. The other way was to do thing which was urgent but not important. Like I had to join PACE for further classes, and at that time PACE was trying to take the test in March only. So it was there some kind of rule that you have to give the entrance test now only for better batches. So that was urgent, but at that time that wasn't important for me because the most important thing was to give exams. And the fourth way was that many of them were trying to organize some friends outing or something, which was not important, neither urgent. So I quitted that. And so these were the things in my mind.
Very good, Diya. Diya has never let her fears or friends make her decision, but she has made it. So that is a very good thing about put first thing first. You have to make your decision. Never let your fears of because of friends you go ahead with that decision. You have to choose your decision. That is put there. Very perfect. Now,
Okay, which is the most important one out of the 4 transactions that you mentioned, Diya, for all of just to revise and make sure that we are all on one page. Out of the 4 transactions you mentioned, that most urgent, most important. Then you said something which is important but not urgent. Then you said something which is neither important nor urgent, and something which is important but not urgent. So out of this, which is the area where we have to work the most?
I think the second and third option in deciding something which is important and not urgent, and the other one is something which is not urgent but important. It is confusing.
Right.
good, very good. On second concept, we have to work more. Now over to Manya for habit number 3. Manya also habit number 3.
Okay, so habit number 3 is put first thing first. So this habit basically implies on spending time on things that are more important, setting and understanding what our priorities are, and having a proper schedule and plan for our future activities. It mainly means being focused. Then many of us do what is important, what is urgent, but we fail to understand what we're doing is important or not. So in order to understand whether the activities we are doing is important or not, we all had learned to maintain a time management matrix, which has 4 quadrants in it. The first quadrant, can you all see this?
Yeah, can see.
Yeah, so the first quadrant is important and urgent. So this involves the activities which needs to be done instantly. Like if we have exam tomorrow, or if our friend gets injured, project due date, and all such activities. And the keyword which we had been given for this quadrant was do. The second is important but not urgent, and this is the most important quadrant of all. This quadrant involves planning, goal setting, prevention, capability improvement, exercising, and all. The third and the keyword for the second quadrant is plan. The third quadrant is not important but urgent. And this quadrant involves all the activities which are distractions, mainly unimportant phone calls, interruptions, other people's small problems, peer pressure, and etc. And the fourth quadrant is not important and not urgent. Means or time wasters like too much TV, endless phone calls, excessive computer games, mall marathons, and all that. So lastly, I would like to say that the most important quadrant is quadrant number 2. So in order to take time for quadrant number 2, we need to avoid the quadrant number 4 and take out our time from quadrant number 3, activities under quadrant number 3 and 4, and give most of our time to the quadrant number 2, which is important. And if we do so, we'll be able to follow habit number 3 properly. Thank you.
Very good. Any experience regarding? Any live
So like right
where
now,
you applied this? Yeah, where you applied this third habit?
yeah. So I applied it like during this lockdown period. Like I didn't had a proper schedule of my day. So I prepared a proper schedule, like getting up and first doing my studies, and after I do my studies, then like I go for Kathak. So I take out some time and then I practice Kathak as well. So like I planned what all is I planned the time management matrix, and like I made a proper schedule. So this is
Good.
my experience.
Good. So very good. Be courageous in any key juncture. That is the main thing to on habit number 3. Put first thing first. Now for habit number 4, Meghna.
Yes.
Yeah. Go ahead,
So,
Meghna.
win-win situation helps to build up strong interdependent relationships, and also both the parties will be satisfied. There are 4 paradigms of win-win situation. First is win-win situation, then win-lose, lose-win, and lose-lose. So from these 4, the best option is win-win situation, because as with win-lose situation or lose-win situation, one person will get what he wants, like victory over the other person or popularity, but that is only for a few, like only for a temporary period of time, and the result overall will be will negatively impact the relationship between those two parties or people um, competing to achieve victory. So it is not easy to implement this win-win situation. One not only needs to be nice, they need to have the capability of winning and the courage to win. And also this win-win situation is not applicable in all the situations, only in some situations. And from the video also, for us to win, the other person doesn't have to lose, we both can win at the same time. So we should always think about win-win situation.
Good, good, very good. And any live experience where
Yeah,
you
so during this lockdown only, um, some specific essentials are not available in all the shops. They're only available in DMart. So some people are like, if we go to DMart, it's risky, so they don't prefer to go. But from the past 1 month, one day in the society, DMart is bringing some essential goods, and they are displaying it in the hall, so that all the residents can buy the goods without going to DMart. So it is like for us also, it's like
yeah, it was a
advantage,
win-win
like we
situation
don't
for
have to go to DMart, we can buy here only. And for them, like they they are doing the sales still in DMart, they're doing here also, so they're getting a huge number of people in one place.
yes. So it was a
So it's
win-win situation.
advantageous for them. Yes.
Both of them. Good. Now Nirmit, you are also for habit number 4. Nirmit, go ahead.
Uh,
Yeah.
So the habit 4 is about the winning of both the parties. So the habit 4 basically develops a sense of mutual benefits. So in any competition or conquest, uh, there are 4 outcomes basically. Either of the party win or lose. So that's win-lose. The second is lose-win, which is opposite to that. And many times it happens that both of them lose due to many consequences. And the last, and which is the most hard to achieve, is win-win situations. So in win-win situations, both the parties are benefited. So as I am at my native place, so here the corona patients are not so much. So there are some ease in the lockdown, so we can go out for playing and just for a walk. So I go out for playing every day. So we play cricket. So many a times it happens that when our chance of batting is there, I get thirsty. Means I need to drink some water. So and in our group there is a person who is eager to bat first. Means he wants batting every time. So I just gave the batting to him and came home to drink water. So that was a win-win situation
So he's
for
also
both
happy,
of
and
us.
you could
Yes.
also quench your thirst. Yeah, good. Anything else you want to share?
Mm, no.
Okay, done. Okay, Siddhi, now habit number 5. Over to Siddhi.
Habit number 5 is seek first to understand and then to be understood. It means that we should first listen and then talk. Means we should listen to the others without interrupting and try to understand their viewpoints, ideas, and feelings. Means, for example, when a debate happens in two teams, then we should first listen to the first team points and then confidently say our points. If we only first listen and say the win is only with us. And now suppose for live example in means that you are teaching us many things, we listen it properly and then you ask questions, we answer it like means pegging is the best example you tell us the things line means you tell the thing line wise and we keep it in mind each number that you said. This means first we have to listen properly and then understand.
Yes, very good. You have to be a good listener, and also you have to listen what they are not saying also. You have to focus on that too. So any experience you had in this habit?
No, ma'am. Now I saw saying no.
You don't have any?
Now in pegging only you say no.
Okay.
You tell us the numbers and we keep it in mind and you ask questions.
Okay. Still you think about it in your next class. There will be some incident. Okay. Everyone has some incident or the other. Okay. Over to Palvi now for the same habit.
Yes. Communication is a means of exchanging ideas and thoughts. Since communication is the most important skill of life, we need to maintain a balance between speaking and listening. So, most people often seek first to be understood, and that way we just have one point of view. If we, but if we seek to understand first, we will have ours as well as the other person's point of view, and thus we'll be able to respond better. So my live example is there was a teacher in our school, and some students, just as a prank, they created a fake account for that sir, and that fake account was messaging children, other students. So that matter got to the principal, and that sir had to leave the school. But if uh, if the principal had given a chance to the sir to explain himself, and he had taken matter into investigating more, so they would have understood that it's just a fake account. But the principal took his actions without thinking, and thus the sir had to leave the school.
So sad. So this also applies first habit also here. So between stimulus and response, take a break and think over it and then react whatever or decision you have to make. So first seek first to be understood and then to be understand. Very good, Pallavi. Next, Adit, for habit number 6.
Yeah, ma'am.
Yeah.
So habit number 6 is about synergize. So in which there are like two people. So like both of them separately do their job, but it is like same kind of, if they're doing that same kind of job. So like they can they can consider each other as their allies and work together, and they can like achieve bigger together, and through which they both uh, the two of the person or a group of person can uh, gain advantage and have profits. So like one live example happened last year when uh, my house group, like Vivekanand, like Orange Group, had a project on wildlife sanctuaries and all. So like teacher gave us to conduct a group activity. So it was supposed to happen a group activity, but we had a person in our house who was like all selfish, and he thought of himself as like almighty god and thing. So he suggested like he will only do the whole project, that we didn't have to worry about the project, he will manage it. So we requested him like we are a group, right? So we should do it on our own. So like he didn't listen, obviously. So he like he then went home, and like he did the project, like, and it was not completed, like it was incomplete. So the next day when he brought the project, we saw that it was all spoiled, like everything was spoiled. We didn't like it much. So the whole group tried and made him understand like you should have listened to us, and we should have worked together. So like then it was a group of 6 people. So so we came together like a democratic government, and we formed a party, and we we put all of our ideas into the project, and ultimately what happened is like we won the activity. So like we got the first position. So that's all.
Good.
Okay, here we must be sure, we must be careful. Think win-win and synergize.
Yeah.
Should not be misunderstood. See, think win-win is all about the process. It's about the process, process of thinking win-win. But synergize is the deliverable. Means that's the result. That's the result should come because of your think win-win, the result that you get. So that's very important to understand, and it should not be misunderstood or confused. Those two habits are totally different. Think win-win is a process, but synergize is the output, result to it.
Okay.
And here, actually, synergize. Actually, with diverse people, we are dealing with diverse people.
Yeah.
So diversity is equal to creative sparks. From each person, some creativity. Everybody has different creativity. That creative sparks will turn into an opportunity.
Correct.
So synergize will bring you opportunities to win. Okay. Very good, Adit. And next to Randip, habit number 7.
So habit number 7 is sharpen the saw. Explanation for it. It means preserving and enhancing the greatest asset which we have, that is ourselves. It means having a balanced program for self-renewal in the 4 areas of life: physical, social, mental, and spiritual. It is necessary to give time to your body, mind, heart, and soul to renew yourself. So I have 4 examples regarding regarding the 4 uh, areas. So first one is body. For body, I eat healthy food, exercise daily, and keep myself fit. For soul, I meditate upon the Lord of the universe and pray to gods. For heart, I make many friends and spend quality time and enjoy with my family and friends. For mind, I earnestly learn more than what I learn from school, and collect and expand my intellect more and more. I've also started attending preaching class, which suits the mind, body, and soul. Thank you.
Very good, Randip. Very good. So very good. I think all of you have well understood by your experience. We could see. That's why we wanted to have the live examples from you, whether you have understood well or not.
So we have completed 7 habits, but we have not completed from our lives. Okay, so we have to keep on practicing this. We will revisit them after some time. Next class probably we will take 8th habit. Okay, 8th habit. We will know a little bit more about it. But the 7 habits in the meantime, please continue practicing it.
And also we are going to end the script also. Only one more chapter is remaining. Why do we do Aarti? So now further, what do you would like to do? Whether you would like to go for Guru Strotam or Chinmaya Mission Pledge or Hanuman Chalisa, you just personally WhatsApp to me. The majority, whatever it is, will take that thing thing first. We'll go ahead with that thing. So I think it will be we will not be able to arrange for the book or anything. So either I think if you all have Guru Strotam or Chinmaya Pledge, we can take over, or Hanuman Chalisa, I think everybody will be having. So on Hanuman Chalisa, we can take. Each verse has explanation and we can learn also whatever Guru Strotam also. So each one personally WhatsApp what you would like to go ahead next. Vote accordingly will choose. So personally please WhatsApp. And today, sorry for the time, this thing we overshoot it, and we cannot have pegging. Next class we'll have pegging, and we'll end up with the prayers. Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Okay, all the best in all your endeavors. Stay safe and healthy. Hari Om. Thank you.